A lot of people think that the phone is the complete opposite of communication. A lot of people think that the phone is the complete opposite of reflection, spirituality, prayer, and that it can't even replace things like connection to your higher power. Let's talk about this, because it doesn't even matter what device you're on. Like, if you really are spiritual, if you really have a higher power in your life, or many powers in your life, or you are a believer in God, it really doesn't matter who you are, where you are, and what device you're on. It could be a notebook. It could be a typewriter. It could be a braille writer. It could be a canvas with a paintbrush. It could be a highlighter with a whiteboard. It doesn't matter what device you're on. If you are a spiritual person tapping into integration, spirituality will just kind of flow through you. It's not something that you have to like explore, discover. It's not something you have to look for, ask for. You don't have to pray for what God has already done. You don't have to ask the powers to show themselves to you if you believe, if you are spiritual, if you allow this to be within your nature. A lot of people have this same idea about, and I've talked about this, but probably not enough, probably not even deep enough, but a lot of people have the same idea about church and any sort of place that you are in. And there's some subjective calls to this. And we're going to definitely get into the point of this episode, which is just by taking action. Very, very simple, by taking action. Because wherever you are, you can be in a church, a temple, a prison, your home, no home, in a house that is not your home. And you can have your time with God, your time with spirituality, your higher power. It does not matter what religion you find yourself working with. This right here scares a lot of people, because there's many religions I actually love, including Christianity. The problem is, every religion wants to be the only religion, kind of like every parent wants to be the only parent secretly. Like, we have this whole thing where we want to be like, we want to be, it's more surface level, but especially if you are in a supportive relationship, but, secretly you want to be that go-to. And you thrive on being the go-to for really deep areas in life as a parent, right? It's the same with religion. It's something I've really had to learn. I've struggled through years of learning, because I disagree with a lot of what Christianity teaches and the way that they treat people. But I can't say that, and I even feel like there's motives, right? Like there are definite motives behind why people might target certain people, Christians might target certain people for vulnerability, for, power, things like that. I totally understand that. But then sometimes people commit acts of spirituality that is outside of religion. And you wonder, like, was that, they could even have motives. They could even be doing it for business purposes, but and it might not even really relate to you as much as you would think it does. They might not even connect with you as much as you would think that they would. But does that make it not any less spiritual, in a sense? Does that make it any less? Same with any other religion. Same with the religions on the other side, or the spirituality on the other side that you might consider the opposite of Christian. It might not even be the opposite. It might not even be that far from Christianity, but we like to think, oh, this is the competition religion. This is the other side. This is like the magic. This is the side that promotes dangerous stuff. When really, like, it's not that far away from Christianity. Like, Christianity took a lot of these ideas, right? And Easter, for instance, is part of the spring equinox. So the scary part about that is you might have to accept that, like, the two religions, or the two sides of religion, the right and the left, really actually merge a lot closer than you think. Christmas, the Christmas tree. Why is it so widely known that had to do with paganism and tree burning every year? Whether or not you agree with tree burning, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with all religions. But that was taken from tree burning, which a lot of people burn their Christmas trees or throw them out when Christmas is over. We have, being out in the country and things like that. Actually, one of the Christmas trees we let grow. One of them we did have like a New Year's fire. One of them we let grow. We've been in churches and everybody has been, we've got to like watch as everybody like really, we've got to kind of observe and be a part of like the Christmas tree helping at church. So it's, but the two, if you think about it, they really, really merge together. The Bible has a lot of spiritual stuff that it talks about this shit, but like, and there's hidden books, but we don't want to talk about that, right? And so a lot of this stuff is merging together. And sometimes I feel like in some weird ways, even though I don't necessarily like or agree with everything in the church, that sometimes I do my best work around that time, depending on if it's one I'm fighting really hard against anything being done to me. Like sometimes I've been to churches where I just feel that most of the people, maybe there might be a nice one or two, but most of the people are like weird, like as in targeting, as in very much deeply judging us, know us a little too well to come up with these opinions, but don't know us well enough while still making judgments. Like there's a lot of that shit. But working within this framework has taught me that, you fight for your time with God. You fight for your relationship with God, with Spirit, with your right to have your higher power and your living spirituality. And so it's really a weakness, if you think about it, that each side of spirituality, it may not even be as narrow as each and every little religion. It could be, but then it gets broader. Each side of spirituality, the right, the left, whatever, tries to be the best. It's like a weak competition of who can throw the dart at the board. Like, it's kind of a stupid game, to be honest with you, because it all merges together. And if you denounce or deny one religion, or deny or denounce all religions, you're not taking away what God can still do. And you're not taking away spirituality and the many multifacets of spirituality. You're not even taking away the existence. You can take it away from yourself and you can not need it. And you have every right to do that, actually. I disagree with people trying to enforce. That's one huge disagreement I have, trying to enforce church and state. Because people have the right. If you, for example, are atheist and you're raising your kids to be atheists and you're telling them all this stuff is wrong, right? You could absolutely be within your right to do so, and you can have a lot of valid points that I'd probably hang out with you. Like, we'd probably agree on a lot of stuff. We'd be like really cool friends. But then there's a part of like curiosity that your kids could go out and want to go and see for themselves, like, is my parents, is my guardians, are they telling the truth here? Are my guardians telling the truth about these things? Or can I go seek it for myself, whether it's a church, a synagogue, a temple? Can I go see for myself what resonates with me? And that's one of the ways I parent, and that's, but I also really go for my own conviction as well, because there have been places in religion where I have not felt, the safest. I have not felt safe at all. And it's because of the intentions and motives of other people. And what I've had to learn is you fight like hell for that safety in survival with whatever church you're in. When I was younger, there's been a lot of that. When I've gotten older, there's been a lot of that. Like, it's within, when you're involved in these things, it's within the framework, and then you just go on to the next one or go on and do something else. You don't stay within something that feels unsafe. You don't get guilted into a sleep of submission to other people. That's not spirituality. And so it's funny because you can find, like with AI, you can find all kinds of Bible translations and hidden Bibles. You can find if you prefer the King James, you have every right to do that. But the problem is they want you on these electronic Bibles. They want you on these books. Why aren't they developing better apps with some possible AI, with actual ChatGPT AI that will lead you to research within the Bible, actual web research? Why are they not allowing that within their apps, or a little bit more on the personal device side, where you're allowed to do research on these things? You're allowed to, there's a little bit of it, but it's within the dictionary that they put in the app. It's not necessarily always within web search or AI or any of these things. And so, but all religions want to be so right. And there could be, like, I connect in most ways with a lot of different aspects that are not necessarily, they're more spiritual and less mainstream, you could say. But the whole thing about that is that it's all competition. It doesn't mean it's wrong either, but at the same time, how are we really, if we're like really spiritual people, how are we really going to make an impact in a sense if we don't accept? It doesn't mean we even have to go traditionally. like we could go and be a part of like exploration. We've talked about this as a family. I've talked about this with you. We've, as you've watched, and depending on how long you've watched, but we've done this. We've had explorational times. But now it's so multifaceted. It's becoming multiple activities. It's becoming just a part of our everyday life. It's becoming a part of just within the education system, within the organization system, within the nonprofit sector, within business, within the buying and selling. It's becoming a part of just everyday life. And that's, you can take all of this with you. You're not set to a building, a book, a community. And if communities themselves would accept this, they could become a lot stronger. Like if communities could just be cool with this aspect of life and just support more than judge the different aspects of spirituality, the different learning styles. You know, some people might cuss more than others. Some people might, you know, and maybe have a few sectors that, you know, because some people might do things that like I wouldn't want to be around if people are using altered substance for their spirituality, but I would respect their right to do so. But that doesn't mean I would want us around that at the same time, because I would not want to get into addiction and things that would not be healthy for our family, for me, right? But like, if we would just accept that some of these things, kind of the humanitarian approach, kind of the Unitarian approach, then we would be so much better off as a community. And I don't just mean in a building on Sundays, because even humanitarians have church. Like there's church for everybody nowadays. There's church for humanitarianism and universalism. And you'd be surprised how many different types of churches there are. And, you know, nobody really working together to contribute getting there, because it's not important. It's only important that each one of us gets there individually and does our due diligence and pays our time in church or gets our spiritual needs met. But it's not really important to build community and work together on getting there. And at the same time, it's so narrow of a niche that even if some of that were true, where we, you know, working together was okay, it's so narrow of a niche. Is it really worth all of that traditionally every week to do? And so I'm going to give you some action suggestions, because I want to say suggestions because I don't want you doing anything that you're uncomfortable with. But these are things that I think can really help you to get less scared, to be less apprehensive of all this, and to just understand these things. And it's getting me up to date on my tech, because I love integrating tech into my life. It's also getting me up to date on even just sipping this coffee right here. When it comes to these kinds of things, I will make a coffee that is helpful and spiritual and life-giving in the morning, as I do prayers, as I do writing, as I do this, creating with you. So, my all-in-one planner of choice, structured, honestly is the best as far as like integrating with life. And the main reason why I've decided that for myself, and this is something I've seen ongoing, and I've been able to integrate Google Calendar very nicely, because Google Calendar has always been my favorite calendar in life, and I'm still using that. Apple Notes being my favorite note taker in life. Grok being my favorite conversational in life, right? Like there's, you know, we're going to have our different things. And so I've talked about my favorite technique, and for you, it could even be your notebook and pen, your highlighter and whiteboard, your paintbrush and canvas, your Bible and pen. Like maybe it's one of those Bibles you can take notes in. You know, make sure it's a safe Bible to do that in, and you know, not disrespecting spiritual texts. Make sure it's a Bible that is not going to get damaged by doing so, and take notes, right? If you're doing it that way. I've had Bible apps that were kind of limiting, but I was able to take notes within the app, within the Bible itself a little bit, just studying, just doing whatever, and learning, and kind of, you know, believe it or not, I'm very multi-spiritual, but there are things that I feel like being integrated that could be misinterpreted that I want to understand better. So, but one of the things that is really cool is I've been able to, over the years, before structured, before anything, future journaling, I've talked to you guys about this. And with future journaling, you can go in and tell yourself in any event that you're planning that it's going to be okay, like a serious court date, a serious maybe housing appointment, a serious finance appointment at your bank or government institution or whatever you're doing, a serious DNV appointment, whatever it is, that make sure you bring the necessary papers, make sure you ask them this in this certain tone, and then by the time you're done, you'll feel better. Like that's future journaling. You're writing in the notes of the event. You're writing the biggest, you're making notes in the title of the event if you have to, right? In a calendar setting. Well, I've taken that with structured and integrated it. And with structured AI, it's allowed me to go to the next level of being more spiritual, being more intentional about prompting, because prompting has been a part of our writing before AI, and that is to really script what you want to think and feel and what you want to experience in your life, even if you're not controlling others, even if you're not controlling your world. So one of the things I've had to script is something to the effect of like, I'm safe and welcomed, but only by trusted people, right? Like that's something I've scripted. Just a general example. And so that's been really, really cool in my life to use. And so, but with the structured planner, I can use AI to create a journal, create a sort of an automatic writing, which is a spiritual writing, journal that really reflects on the present moment. And you can reflect on the past as needed. You can reflect in the future, reflect forward, future journal, all of that. I've been able to do that with structured very consistently for weeks at a time, getting kind of into months. And I noticed when just having that AI kind of went away when I was doing other things again, the AI part of it, or the having conversational AI go even deeper than anything, you know, you could ever do with any other experience in tech. This allows you to go deeper within design as well, which also is an important part of integrating into your life. And for example, you can make this whatever way you want to make this. So if you are in your structured AI and you are wanting to work within Christianity, because really it's all about what are you working in? What are you working with? What, it's not necessarily tied to your identity with God. Your identity with God is separate from religion, right? But if you are working in the Christian framework by choice, you could tell Structured AI easily, create a Bible study journal every morning, or create an all-day Bible study journal that I can just pull up at any moment, and it will give you tasks, and you can even say, add a Bible verse that will reflect each day, or a Bible prompt that will reflect each day into this, or something to that effect, and it will work out. And you can then be more active in your Bible study. I'm not biased towards anything. I'm just letting you know. A lot of people think that the phone is anti-spiritual. A lot of people want to call it Antichrist. And it's really not helpful when it comes to being more active in the church, especially people with disabilities or anything like that. Like, this is making everybody look kind of stupid. Like, it's making y'all look kind of stupid and discriminative by doing it in this way. And so I say that with just a pinch of cayenne pepper, just a pinch of strong conviction, because, like, you're almost saying in some sense that because a lot of places aren't offering, or a lot of places don't work with us or see us as equal business people or equal people to work within, that in a sense we shouldn't be working within this framework. In a sense, without you guys, without the help of you guys, like, it shouldn't be as personal to us because we need your help. We need to constantly bother you for a format version. We need to go find a Braille Bible, which you can't even carry around, all the things. We need to go get an electric Bible, like one of those electronic Bibles. They have them that you have to have a separate device. How divided does this shit need to be in religion? Like, it's really making us divided. Like, we're dividing up our religion from our life instead of integrating our spirituality with our life and then sort of choosing whatever framework, or multiple frameworks, if you're a chameleon, whatever can work, I'm pretty adaptable as kind of chameleon in that way. But I'm more multifaceted with layers. I'm more like an onion, honestly. So there's that. I'm more like Shrek in a weird sense. But then I'm more like Fiona kind of thing. Like, I, can have that identity with Shrek, but then when you look even deeper, I'm more like Fiona. Which is not something that is easy to admit when you are younger, and something you have to admit when you're older, like whatever you identify with. So, just kind of an episode I thought could be thoughtful on this sharing Saturday here. At the time of this could be a mountainous Monday where you got a ton of shit to do. This could be a turbulent Tuesday. This could be a what the fuck Wednesday, whenever you're listening to this. But, like, maybe it's a sort of a throwback Thursday, a fuck you Friday, whatever. But for me, it's a Saturday of sharing. I kind of like feel a lot more social on a Saturday when the week has gone by after really working through a lot of things personally and work. I'm kind of dynamic in that regard. So, freelance life, it's cool. But yeah, that is really it, though. We need to be a lot more empowered by all of this and just accept it. Sometimes it might be a little more traditional, as long as it's dynamic enough that we can change at any given time, perhaps, and not feel stuck. And other times it's going to be very much more on the other side of things where you're really integrated into kind of learning the approach of sort of like rebellion and that kind of thing. And as long as you're not feeling like that rebellion is turning into another religion, then that will, whatever framework, I think the middle is always smart. It's always good. And then if you can get onto that other side, whichever framework you're in, the left or the right, and you can integrate parts of that other side, you're pretty powerful. So maybe you're choosing a framework, maybe you're an onion, maybe your framework is an onion. That's kind of like me as well, where this whole thing is an onion. You got to peel back those layers of spirituality. And a lot of people in spiritual relationships and friendships and like a lot of gurus, there are very few gurus that I watch today that I've read that are smart enough to do that. They don't get scared away by working within a framework. They understand the business, and they get the onion. They peel back the onion. People like Leo from Actualized, people like Eckhart Tolle, people that really understand these things. I'm kind of hoping to find more females that get it, because I feel like we have this problem of like wanting to choose one or the other. As one of our little issues being female, it's not like we're, we have a lot of really cool qualities, but that's one of our little issues sometimes, is that we're a little bit, we get emotional on which side we like best, and we don't think enough with logic or spiritual understanding. Sometimes emotions can cloud your spirituality, believe it or not. I'm going to do episodes on this, but sometimes emotions themselves can cloud your spiritual nature. So, but anyway, I really wanted to make this. I'm going to try to upload this not only to the channel, but to the podcast, and I'm going to see if this will work a little bit better. I wanted to integrate Google Calendar more in my previous content. I'm happy that I did, because I was able to play with it and really experience why Google Calendar still matters in my planner integration with Structured. And it definitely does on at least a weekly basis. I'm still involving it in my layers, because all of this life itself is an onion, and it's just like layers. And an onion is not an onion without the layers. Anyway, I hope that this resonates in some way, makes sense in some way. At least whatever part that you resonate with. It doesn't matter what I resonate with. Take it for a grain of salt and resonate with what feels worth resonating with. Take care of yourself, take care of your life, take care of each other, and keep exploring.